Hello and welcome back. It's me, Kate, from Ask Kate, brought to you by the Children's Tumor Foundation. And today we're going to try something a little different. Normally, what I've done is I choose a topic and then I talk to you guys about it. But you've been leaving some great questions and comments with these videos. I've also been getting some great emails. And so today I want to record a quick video that responds to some of those comments. So first, I want to respond to a comment that I received on a video that we did from Anasul and Kohi, and I apologize if I am not pronouncing your name correctly. Anasul asks about what stage are we at with the research for finding a cure for NF? And I think this is a great question. And it's not a simple answer, unfortunately, but I think it is the right question to be asking is where are we at and how much farther do we have to go? Now, unfortunately, because of how complicated NF is and the genetics of it and how it impacts multiple systems in our bodies, it is difficult to say. I cannot give you a timeline or an exact time of it's going to take this much longer before we can find a cure. But some good things that I can say. For example, we just this year are getting orphan drug status approved for a new drug that is shown to shrink plexiform neurofibromas, which we've talked about in a previous video, a complicated tumor that can occur in NF1, a tumor that's very difficult to remove completely using surgical methods. And the Children's Tumor Foundation, in large part, funded the research that discovered this drug and its ability to shrink these tumors, which is really exciting. And so that's always what we want to talk about is that we are making strides. So CTF is committed to finding effective treatments, and one day we really believe a cure for NF in all of its forms. And one really exciting thing that we do that I really think is neat that I like to talk about is that we involve patients in the research development process. So there are programs that CTF runs and helps to fund that actually bring patients to the table with medical doctors and researchers to discuss how to shape and focus our research. So often what we have found is that a scientific researcher or a doctor wants more information about a condition or how the condition responds to a drug or a treatment of some kind, and they might not actually be asking the right questions. They might not be thinking about it from the right perspective. And so a patient or a caregiver for a patient can really bring in that perspective and help us to focus and have more efficient and effective research. And so I think that's really exciting, and that's something that CTF is a big advocate for. So I think it's important to just stay tuned to all that we're doing here at the Children's Tumor Foundation to find the cure and to really see an end to NF. The next question comes to us from Lali Valenzuela. Lali is talking about the fact that her daughter was diagnosed with NF1 when she was 6 months old and will soon be turning 4. Lali explains that she's still really coping with the diagnosis and trying to understand how to best help her daughter. I think that this is a great question, and the answer is going to be different depending on the age of your child. But as a parent, I'd say one thing that's always the same is to really educate yourself as much as possible. So use the resource library on CTF's website. Our brochures, many of them come in several languages, so not just English. They're all free to read and download, and they are a great place to start with trying to understand the diagnosis itself. The better that you understand it, the more prepared you can be when you go to the appointments with doctors to ask the right questions and understand the answers that you're given. And that would be the second answer to that question of how to help your child, which is to be their advocate, which is just a big word for saying be someone who fights for them, who understands your child better than you. Nobody, right? So the doctor might understand NF1 a little more than you do, but you know your child, and so you are an important part of their medical team, and you want to make sure that your voice is heard, that your questions are answered, that your concerns are listened to. Another thing to think about specifically with a child who's nearly 4 is to be looking ahead to thinking about school. So a lot of these kids with NF1 are might face some different challenges. They might have social, emotional disabilities, or I shouldn't even call them disabilities, but just struggling to make friends and connect with others. Again, this is not all children with NF1, but this can happen. Also in NF1, we can see learning disabilities. Again, not all kids, but occasionally we do see that. And so just being aware of those risks and the possibilities is really helpful as you think about watching your child interacting with other kids, starting out in school. I really recommend, especially if you're here in the United States, getting your child with NF1 into a preschool program. I think that's really helpful. It kind of helps jumpstart them so that when they walk into kindergarten, they have some classroom experience under their belt to kind of help prepare them for what's coming next. And then I think being honest with your child's teachers about their diagnosis, if you're comfortable. Obviously, disclosing that information is a personal decision that each parent needs to make. However, if you are comfortable doing that, I think that you can really work with the teacher to your child's advantage. In fact, in our resource library, we have a brochure specifically focused on how to educate your child's educator. So it's all about how NF1 can impact learning and school. So I highly recommend downloading and printing that out. Again, it's all free, and giving that to your child's teacher, whether it's preschool or kindergarten. Because for many kids, particularly with NF1, when they're young, often their physical health is largely unaffected by NF1. And it's really the way that it impacts their development, their ability to interact with other children, getting ready to go to school. Those are the things that really parents are talking about and most worried about. And so I think just kind of knowing that there are some risks involved and educating yourself about that, and then working with their educators, their teachers, is the best way to be a good advocate for your child. Okay, so as you can see, if you ask me a question, I'm going to try to make a video to answer it. So hopefully this was helpful to both of our commenters. And as always, please feel free to email me or leave a comment below so that we can keep the conversation going.